I'm Cheryl Campbell and I'm the Head of Registration at SSSC. My role there is to oversee the maintenance of the register. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the size of the register, so you'll get to see how challenging that can be. If you're registered with the SSSC, I just want to say it's not all my fault. Okay? And again, I'll show you some of the information around that. I'm going to talk a little bit about the legal framework that we sit behind and some of the challenges with that, and then some of the things that we're looking to change in relation to the makeup of the register. I thought I would just put a slide up to say who we are and what we do for those who might not know who we are. Our main roles are around workforce regulation and innovation and development in the sector. And we've heard a lot already today about improvement in the sector, and that's really what the focus is. And we do an awful lot of work around improvement and working with partners to look at new ways of working and to share that learning. We have a role in relation to workforce intelligence, and that role is getting bigger and bigger. The data that we're collecting and analysing and providing is really influencing change. And that's a really important thing that we're focusing on right now. We support the sector with policy implementation, so things like integration, SDS, safer recruitment, lots and lots of other work that we're involved in with partners across the sector. So, we were established under the regulation of care, a Freudian slip, Scotland Act 2001, and we're required to hold a register of social workers, social service workers and care inspectors. And these are the different categories of our register. Our register currently has 23 different categories, which is really complicated. It's really complicated for people to get their heads around. It really doesn't support flexibility in the sector, and that's something that we're looking to change. What happened was the Scottish Government said, you've been established to regulate these workers, here are the categories that you're going to regulate, and that started in 2003 and takes us up to 2020. Once we've got everyone on the register in 2020, we're looking to change that. We're looking to simplify the register and to support that flexibility, to support the work that Mary's just been talking about, because our register doesn't traditionally do that. These are other regulators, so if someone's registered with another regulatory body, they wouldn't register with us, they maintain their own registration, so there might be nurses in the room who are registered with the Nursing and Midwifery Council, HCPC who regulate other professions. So these are other partners in relation to regulation. So people must be registered. So we're slightly different from other regulators in that, with the exception of social workers, people need to be working in the role to be eligible for registration. So they must be working in a service that's regulated by the Care Inspectorate. And they have 6 months to achieve registration from the point that they start their work. And we often get people on the phone saying, well, I've had to suspend someone because they're not registered in time. And I think that there's still a bit of confusion around in relation to registration, and that's another thing that we're trying to simplify, trying to make things a lot more straightforward for people. This is what our journey looks like from 2004. It was actually 2003, but that's not on the scale. We opened the register in 2003 for social workers and expected everyone to rush forward, apply for registration. You know, this is about professionalising the workforce. Day 1, register opens. Day 6, or week 6, month 6, I think we only had about 20 people on the register. It just didn't happen until people were forced to register when mandatory registration came in. So by 2020 or 2021, we expect to have about 175,000 people on the register. Now that doesn't cover everyone in the sector. As Janine spoke about, there's over 200,000 social service workers across Scotland. So there are gaps in our register. Social work assistants is an example of people that we don't register at the moment, but there are other groups that we don't register. Personal assistants, we don't register those at the moment. That could be something that we'll move to register. I don't know, there's still conversations around that. So, yeah, as I said, we're different from other regulators in relation to people need to be working or to be registered. The other difference is that people can be working without being qualified and have 5 years to gain the qualifications whilst they're working. And that's so we're not putting a barrier up to people coming into the sector, because if we said, right, you have to be qualified before you register with us, then that would cause a huge problem in the sector. We can register people subject to conditions. So as Janine stole my thunder actually by saying that there's over 60,000 workers in the sector that have to gain a qualification over the next 5 years. Now that is massive. So again, we have another role to make sure that there's enough provision in the sector to support that so that people gain the qualifications. And what we're hearing is that people are leaving the sector because they're not able to, either they're scared to gain a qualification, not gain it, scared to start studying. They are maybe reaching, or they think they're going to be retired by the time they're having to gain the qualification, or they just want to do the job. They don't want to go away and do an SVQ. And we're trying to support the sector to achieve that. It is a qualification-based register and it is a requirement, it's a legal requirement, and that's what we have to do. But we need to do more work to support the sector to do that. But it's huge, 60,000 over the next 5 years. So this is how our register looks. Over 162 workers across the 23 different parts of the register. But because people can be registered on more than one part, it's actually up more than 130 now. It's 132,000. And it's broken into different parts of the register. So what I did a bit of an analysis of the register to see that how many people are registered on more than one part. And I was really surprised that we've got 2 people registered on 8 different parts of the register, and I thought, that's crazy. You know, people should be registered with us as an individual, and that's it, the registration takes them to, you know, it should be something like your driving licence. So you're registered, and you maybe you're qualified to work with category A, B, C and D or whatever, so it's much, much more straightforward. And that's something that we're looking to change. The breakdown of the register just shows you know, the different categories. Social workers is quite a small proportion of the register, less than 10%. Residential childcare is a small proportion of the register. The biggest part of our register is people working with adults. So care at home, housing support and care home services is our biggest category of workers. And that's where the biggest group are that have to gain the qualifications. So what are the issues, and what we're trying to change is that people have to be registered on each part of the register they're carrying out the role for, some being registered on 8 different parts, which is a bit ridiculous. It doesn't support flexibility in the sector. So we've got people who maybe work in remote areas and they have to jump from working in the nursery to working in the care home in the afternoon and having to be registered on all these different parts of the register. It doesn't really look at health and social care integration. It doesn't really support that as much. It doesn't support intergenerational work. It doesn't really support the work self-organising teams, because we've got this traditional hierarchy in the register. It's very confusing. It's confusing for us. So goodness knows what it's like for people who have got full-time jobs and still trying to get their heads around this. And there's lots and lots of different practical issues for people. But we're really trying to get it changed. There's a huge appetite for change from the sector. We've spoken to Scottish Government about change, and they have an appetite for it. We do have a problem because it's set down in the regulations, so it's not something that could be changed overnight. This is going to be a long-term project, which I don't see any change coming in before 2021. And if we get something in 2021, I think that's a real success story. So at the moment we are wanting to change. Now we could simply look at what our register looks like now and who we register now and say, right, what do we need to change? Do we need to change? Do we have to have a renewal period because people are registered for 5 years? We should maybe just say you're registered and that's it. You don't have a renewal period, you just pay your annual fee and maybe an annual declaration. So we could look at that and that will simplify it for people already. We could look at the current scope, which is all the 23 different parts of the register, plus the anomalies, like the social work assistants, like adult daycare workers who are not included in the register. These are people that are missing as such from the register. Or we could go wider and look at the current scope, the ones that are missing, and then looking at personal assistants and groups like that. So we need to discuss this with Scottish Government. We need to find out what the appetite is for this, and then we need to take that forward. And that's my, am I in time? Well, that's a surprise to me.